All right, everybody, welcome to the Solar Consultant Network's Monday Forum. For those of you that are new to the network, and if you're wondering what is the Solar Consultant Network, well, we are a group from the solar industry that's decided to unite together to share insights and really help each other evolve our solar business. Whether you're a brand new solar rep or a seasoned solar pro, or maybe you're a company looking to expand into the solar sector, that's what we're here for. And every Monday, we get to host new keynote featured speakers that we have decided that we really feel will add a tremendous value to the group. So tonight, we thought we always talk about residential and we always bring value in the residential space. But maybe some of you on here are thinking, you know what, Melissa, I sure have a lot of residential skill set, but I have customers that maybe come up to you and ask, do you do commercial? And so together as a group, we interviewed quite a few different commercial installers out there, and we came up with a solution that we found was pretty awesome, that it would be an ability for our members to be able to easily add commercial to their residential sales if they choose so. So that way, you sell in solar to your homeowner, you're always getting those referrals for your homeowner. And then at the same time, you can also maybe ask the question, hey, what about a business do you know that does commercial? Or again, maybe you're out and about at a coffee shop, you run into somebody, you start selling them residential, and then you think, oh, wait, you own what business? Oh, I can help you too. Because really, as we're out here with the concept of accelerating the adoption of solar worldwide as fast as we can, let's not limit it to just residential. So when the Solar Consultant Network was going out and interviewing for all sorts of people that we felt that we could bring into the network to talk about how you would possibly add a solar division, we without a doubt decided Uprisun was the company to do it. Personally, when I met Tyler, I could just see he was one of the most ambitious go-getter entrepreneurs out there. And then he introduced me to his partner, Danny. It's just been a pleasure to get to work with the two of them. I've learned a tremendous amount of knowledge, and I'm hoping that each and every one of you that are on here tonight or watching the recording from this can get the same value that the rest of us have found. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the Zoom over to Tyler and Danny, and maybe start with a couple questions. But if you guys want to say hello first.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an awesome introduction, Melissa. Been really looking forward to coming on here and speaking to your group and to all the members in your community about commercial solar. My name is Tyler Mashkow. I'm the owner and co-founder, CEO of Uprisun Energy and Technology. And I'm also a partner and co-founder in Uprisun Capital. So I'm sitting with Danny Gavrilov. Danny's our CEO of Uprisun Capital, and he's also one of our managing partners of Uprisun Energy and Technology. So yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. Super excited. It's a pleasure.
Great. We are excited to have both of you here. So I want to start off with just two questions, and then you guys can jump into it. So the first question I want to hear from you guys is, what are you most passionate about in the solar industry?
I'll take that one. I don't know. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always had this obsession with like doing something like extraordinary and like being somebody, like actually like, just making a name for myself and kind of like, not just being a part of something, but kind of like leading something, leading from the front with something. And, I come from a family of middle-class construction workers, and they're all amazing people, extremely hardworking people. But I saw, when I entered into this industry back in 2013, I saw this as an opportunity to make a huge impact. And the industry was so new and people were so skeptical about it when I first got into the industry. And that was really exciting to me. I felt like there was a huge opportunity to come into a new space and make a huge impact. And I've literally just been out to do that ever since I stepped foot into the industry. just kind of waiting for my time to shine and put all the puzzle pieces together and figure out where I was gonna leave my mark in the industry.
That's great.
That's my story. Danny, what about you?
Danny, what's your story?
So I come from a commercial real estate background, family office background, family business background. I came into solar and I saw it as a financial product. And I really saw it. I really saw that my knowledge in the real estate world and in the finance private equity space can really be utilized in this space, in the commercial solar space, because it is so finance driven. So that's what drives me is, the finances and how amazing this is actually for a business owner and for a landlord and what it does to their numbers. And it's just real, and it's an amazing product.
I love it. And then that's a perfect segue into my next question for you, which is, Tyler, I've always known you in the resi space. You just were a beast on residential. So what sparked your interest to go ahead and jump into commercial?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was in the residential space for about 6 years before I even looked at the commercial side of things. I'm an observer, I'm a listener. I'm the type of guy that when I go to an event of any kind, I like to shake everybody's hand. I like to meet everybody and just kind of pick everybody's brains. And 6 years into my residential career, building teams, running teams, operating in multiple states, traveling around from state to state, building teams and culture and things like that. That got to be really easy, and we got so good at it. And I worked for a lot of big residential, like big box, big name companies, and I did very well with those companies. And it freaking drove me crazy because I'm a networker. So I was the one that was always on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, just trying to meet people all over the country and shake hands with everybody. And I would come across commercial opportunities all the time. I was just constantly, and not like little pizzerias. I was coming across warehouses, multifamily apartment complexes, hotels, all kinds of, quality, feasible projects. But I was constantly almost like discouraged by my upper management. They would always kind of make it seem like there was this humongous barrier of entry between myself and being any kind of success, seeing any kind of success in the commercial space. So I was so curious about the commercial space for the simple fact that everybody was telling me that it was impossible and that it was a waste of time. It wasn't until I came across a gentleman who was local to me in New York, in Long Island, that when I met him just through networking and heard that he built 75 commercial projects in less than a year in the heart of New York City, and that they were building commercial projects in other parts of the country, and that they had a team that was brokering the funding of these projects. I saw that somebody was doing it. I saw that it was possible, that there were people out there that were almost like living a whole different role, like inside of this solar space. Like it was almost like they were doing something completely different, but so similar to what I was doing in the residential space. I was just really curious. I was more curious, right? If I'm thinking to myself, well, if there's a lot of people that are, a lot of homeowners that are looking to go solar and they have, a $200, $300 a month bill. Well, what about these business owners that are paying $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $30,000 a month? So I knew that there had to be a way to at least learn about the business. And for me, that was the biggest thing, was I just needed to take the step forward and find the right people to work with that were willing to teach me. And that's literally all I needed, was to be taught the basics of commercial solar. And when I started learning the basics and surrounding myself with the right people, it was kind of just off to the races from there.
Well, we are super excited to learn from you today. So thank you so much for taking time to answer that. And without further ado, I'm going to turn the whole Zoom over to you because I think you said that you had something that you wanted to share with everybody. That way you can make sure, I want to make sure that you can share the screen. And everybody, don't worry, like all of our other forums, every Monday where there's an open Q&A afterwards. So once Tyler's done sharing, once him and Danny are done sharing, you guys will be able to ask any sorts of questions that you might have about the commercial sector.
Second.
Just out of curiosity, while Tyler's pulling that up, if anybody wants to put into the chat bar, who already has done some commercial before? Okay, we either have people afraid to use the chat, or we got a whole bunch of people here excited to learn about commercial.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, your screen, I can see it, yes.
Okay, awesome. Cool, so give me 1 second. I'm on a brand new Mac desktop and just getting the hang of this. Cool, so yeah, I'm just gonna run everybody through just kind of a basic overview of what we do and the commercial platform that we've developed. So we're definitely a tech-centric group. That is really primarily the main reason that we're able to do what we do so well. When it comes to commercial, it's a lot different from residential in a sense that you're just collecting typically one electric bill, right? You're collecting one electric bill from the homeowner. You're able to submit that into a design tool like a Go Solo or a Sonobi or a Qualtiva or something like that. And you can instantly get a design right back, and you can instantly run credit for a homeowner, and then you can instantly get an approval. So I can essentially knock on a homeowner's door, collect their bill, run credit, and have them sign and get approved for a loan and have them sign contracts within an hour. When it comes to commercial, it's not really the same fast process. So there's a couple of key distinctive things when it comes to the differences between commercial and residential, right? And I'm gonna show everybody why we're able to take this hard space, this difficult space that our industry has deemed to be, impossible, and created this easy to use, user-friendly platform. So give me 1 second here. Hey. There we go. Okay, so essentially what we do is we have different forms that people are able to fill out anytime they come across a commercial proposal request. So if you're not familiar with forms, there's all types of forms: Google Forms, Jot Forms, Salesforce Forms, all different types of forms. We use our own custom form that we've built out that's pretty much going to narrow down the type of commercial project that you have here, right? So with commercial, we typically want to work with property owners. We want to work with people that own the property, that own the company. So when you come across a commercial project, we have simple forms that will easily guide you through selecting what type of property you're working with. Is it, what space is it in? Is it in the agricultural space? Is it a land development project? Is it in the industrial space? Is it a marijuana grow facility? We essentially just help to narrow down, wow, this is bugging out. Narrow down the type of project that you're coming across, right? We also have a lot of different material that we share with a lot of people in our community. So being able to understand just basic information, commercial solar 101, a simple simple to-dos, simple things like what type of financing we use, basic questions we have on our Trello board. So for anybody that's not familiar with Trello, it's a digital board that it's an application, or you could access it on a web version. But we give this Trello board out to all of our people in our community. In fact, if you're on this call tonight, we're going to give you access to a free public Trello board that you can log into for free. It's going to have all of this commercial solar information on here. Each one of these tabs you can literally click on, and it'll give you a description as to what that title is. So if you want to learn about accelerated depreciation and what MACRs are, if you want to learn about the difference between a lease structure and an owner-occupied relationship, right? So our Trello board is full of tons of different information. And if you're on this call tonight, Steven Gutierrez or Johnny Ringgold will get you access to our Trello board. Biggest thing with commercial is that, there's so many different stages throughout the process. Some of the biggest differentiators can be that we're collecting a full year's worth of usage from a business, whereas with residential, typically we could just collect, one electric bill. So when it comes to commercial, we're collecting a lot of data, a lot of documents are being collected, a lot of docs. So as you're collecting those documents, those different pieces of data that we need, and you're filling out our forms and you're uploading all of that information onto the form, once everything gets submitted, it's all going to get broken down for your visibility within our CRM, and show you what stage the project is at, right? So it's key for commercial. It's with residential, it's typical for a sales team to go sign up a homeowner, get all the contracts signed up, and then boom, you pass it off to an installer, and then you never speak with the homeowner, or you don't really know what's going on. I know the Power platform is really great with this because they update you on what's going on with the project and things like that. And that's why Power is so successful, I believe, because of that cloud-based platform that's given everybody kind of a transparent look as to what stage the project is at. We believe the same thing for commercial is so important. We built this system so that people, when they submit a commercial project, can have full visibility and transparency as to where the project is. Did we just request a design for the proposal? Is the project currently being facilitated? Is the design completed? Is it in financing, right? So when you join our platform and you start submitting commercial projects to us, we've built a centralized engine so that when you log into our platform and start using our forms to submit commercial leads, every project that you submit, you'll literally be able to keep track of all of the correspondence and communication of that project, so you can eliminate having the email and text message back and forth. And you'll also be talking to our engineers, our designers, our facilitators, which is really cool and important. It's really difficult to understand our model if you've never, been in the solar industry. We're like a Good Leap, a Titan, and a Power combined all in a one, right? So we handle everything in the commercial space from engineering and design. So about 95% of the people that work with us that are on our platform come from the residential sales space. So almost everybody that's working with us now is co-developing these projects with us, right? And that terminology might be new to some people. When the term co-developing, you're used to hearing the term consultant or sales consultant or advisor of some kind. Well, in the commercial space, 95 to 98% of the people that are on our platform are co-developing projects with us. What that means is this is essentially a professional handoff, right? You are going to be taught, as a member of of our, community, working with Melissa and her team, you'll be taught how to prospect properly, right? It's easy in the residential space. It's easy to knock on a homeowner's door and see that it's clearly a residential property, right? In the world of commercial, there's all kinds of different properties and industries, right? You have hotels, car dealerships, manufacturing facilities, warehouses, farms. There's so many different types of commercial entities that little by little by little, you'll start to kind of find your niche, right? Some people on this call might have a car dealership background. So you may want to focus in the beginning of your commercial journey on the car industry. Some people here might be into golfing and you belong to a golf country club. You may want to start with the golf country club niche. And then the list goes on and on. Maybe somebody here has someone in the family that owns multifamily apartment complexes, right? That might be your niche, multifamily, right? So first things first is really understanding who you're going to prospect. I know Melissa mentioned that it's great when you're sitting with a homeowner and you can mention that, hey, we also do commercial. That sort of confidence that's immediately instilled in my sales, my residential salespeople that are across the country. I see my people becoming more and more confident the more they learn about commercial, because it really just expands your knowledge base. It really does build a lot of confidence. So we'll really start to teach you how to identify and prospect the different types of commercial projects that are out there. Once we identify what type of commercial project it is that we're going to be looking into, it's important to know what sort of information do we need to collect? What type of conversation am I going to be having with the business owner based on what type of financing I think is going to be available to them? And that's where Danny's going to talk in a little bit about the different types of commercial financing, because commercial solar is 100%, in most cases, a financial product, right? So truly, it comes down to being able to identify what type of commercial entity we are dealing with and what type of commercial financing is going to most likely make sense for them and pencil, right? So the key to having a platform that's going to centralize all of this information for you is huge. I'm sorry, the key to this is all of the different types of people that live in our system, right? So not only did we focus on building the software for the last few years and just building an engine that makes it really easy to onboard people, to submit your commercial leads, to stay in communication with our team as we're designing these projects and as we're presenting these projects. But all of these people on our team have been working hard throughout the years to perfect this system so that we can kind of cover, a 48 state footprint and be able to develop projects all across the country. So at this point, we pretty much feel comfortable, our team feels comfortable, and we have the relationships in place to be able to build and develop commercial projects in all across the United States, as we are today. So I'm gonna let Danny talk a little bit about, my page is going crazy here. Give me 1 second. Cool. I'm gonna let Danny talk a little bit about what we do over at Uprisun Capital. But yeah, I mean, for me, commercial is all about community. It is not for the lazy rep. It is not for the residential sales rep that just likes to get things done quick. The commercial space is not most likely going to be a good fit for you. The commercial space is a longer game. It's a more drawn out process. You have to be able to follow up very professionally. You have to be able to set the proper expectation from A to Z with your client. And that is where we come in. Everything that we do is under one roof. We do everything in-house. So this way, you're not stuck setting a wrong expectation with your homeowner. A lot of the people that work with us a lot of the negative feedback that we get in the commercial space, a lot of times people just don't have the proper communication. Things are taking way too long. So you may have a commercial business owner who typically tend to be a lot busier and harder to get a hold of than homeowners. So when you do get a chance to get that business owner to settle down and you start collecting all this information, it is so important to have a team that is ready to fire away behind you everything that you need to get things done, which is so important which leads me into talking about why it's so important for us to have launched Uprisun Capital a couple years ago. When we really decided to make our mark in the commercial space, we knew that we were going to have to launch a brokerage. A lot of my partners come from the commercial finance space. Our one partner, the president of Uprisun Capital, his name is Mark Schmirler, and he's a former corporate CFO for 15 years and comes from the corporate world. So we knew that it was going to be super important to build a brokerage and a network of lenders, commercial lenders, and a whole entire team, because in the commercial space, what we see mostly that ruins these projects and derails these projects and really just doesn't allow the sales rep or the builder to move forward with the project is lack of financing, right? So I'm gonna let Danny talk for a second. There's so much to learn. Hopefully, I'm leaving you with a couple of good things, and I can't wait to answer some of your questions. But I'm gonna pass this over to Danny and let him talk a little bit about what we do at Uprisun Capital.
Yeah, so like Tyler was saying earlier, that when it comes to commercial solar, it's not a one size fits all approach. You can't simply just walk into a house, get some information and get an approval and get things going. There's a little more that needs to go into it. So with Uprisun Capital, like Tyler was saying, it's so crucial understanding this part of the commercial solar deal, because this is where a lot of the deals fall through. A lot of the deals fall through, like they will get to maybe design and they will get through engineering, and then no one really understands how to present properly the capital side to the decision makers, the landlords, whether it be, or the business owners. But yeah, so we believe that the reason that we're going to be successful and why we started this company is to kind of be the closing partners at the end of the game. When the project is past design, past all that, and the client approves it, they now want financing. So we come in and we offer a variety of different services depending on what type of project it is. So in the commercial space, we'll deal with, any type of commercial real estate project, from multifamily, office space, retail space, mixed use properties, industrial warehouse, special use, all that kind of stuff. We'll also, we do a lot of new construction and we do a lot of affordable housing. So, depending on what type of structure the building is and what type of structure the LLC is structured in, or are we working with a co-op board or an HOA, that is where we'll come into giving them the kind of personal, approach, high level, on how we feel they should go about financing this. So the types of financing structures, if we're dealing with a for-profit, there could be debt or equity financing. If we're dealing with debt financing, there's a CPACE. CPACE is a government program tied to the taxes. Then we can have an asset-based lending, which is an asset-based approach to the property, and we can go for the equity in the property and try to pull some equity out of the property to take care of the capital improvement, which would be the solar. Or we can just do straight equipment financing. And with that comes no personal guarantees on the property, no liens, and we kind of just We do it based on the equipment.
Can you talk a little bit, Danny, about, the second that our team goes on to a presentation, like today, we just presented a 5 megawatt system, and the client is ready to move forward and they're looking to set up financing. So from the very second that we are presenting to a client over Zoom, 99% of our projects that we present are on Zoom, believe it or not. So after we get done presenting, clients like, yep, I'm ready to move forward. What is so unique about our team that enables us to kind of just keep the ball rolling super fast? What happens from the time the client says, yes, I'm ready to move forward? Who are we passing that project off to?
Sure. So we have a very seamless structure, a process that we've taken from the commercial financing world in the real estate, and it works very well. We take it in, we assign it to a loan officer. That loan officer facilitates the doc process for the initial doc process that we then take and give it to an in-house underwriter. The underwriter will sit with the analyst and they'll decide where to place this deal and what type of financing structure we're going to go for, depending on who we're working with again, and what type of structure they have and what type of needs they have. Then we get into the processing and the documentation. So this, commercial solar is a much more doc heavy type of transaction. That's where the lead time kind of comes in. But once we go through that, we have a designated processor that will deal with the client and the bank and make sure all the documents get through. Then we go into the completion stages and the closing stages, where we will draw up the final contract of how the lender will be funding the EPC or the installer. And then they'll go for permitting and installation, the EPC, and they'll get that job done.
Excellent. Now, I'm sure a lot of people right now, some people might be, this could be a completely different language to a lot of people. So I really just want to break down one more time how simple this can be. If you just give me a moment here to pull up my Trello board. So we're super big on Trello. My team uses it like crazy. I just kind of want to give you an example of what our forms look like. So really simple. Your job, most of the people that work with us, they're busy and they're focused on what they're doing on a day-to-day within the residential space. I've been in the residential game now for almost 10 years, and I know best what it takes to be successful in the residential space. It's not easy. It's no walk in the park. You have to put your best foot forward, and it's definitely time consuming if you really want to be successful. So how do we introduce commercial to that type of a person that's already thriving or looking to thrive in the residential space? How do we introduce this? Well, it's quite simple, right? The way that I approach it, running a nationwide residential team, being the owner of a decent sized company that has a lot of different sales reps in the residential side. Well, what I do is we offer one time a week where I just get my team together and we do an hour session on commercial. And really what we're teaching is just how to identify the property so that our people know just enough to have an intelligent conversation with the business owner. Truly just how to identify what kind of business is it? What is the actual feasibility of this project? Meaning, is it, how much usage do they have? What are they paying? What's the cost per kilowatt hour, right? What type of local incentives are available to the business in that particular state with that particular utility company, right? So really, when these projects come in, this is the form that you'd most likely fill out. And it's really simple. You'd come in here and start just selecting what type of project it is. Is it an existing building? Is it new construction? Is it a parking lot? Is it land development? It's an existing building. What type of tax structure? This is super important, right? And Danny didn't talk too much about this, but a lot of the different financing that he spoke about was for for-profit businesses. But for a case where we have a church or we have any projects that are mush projects, right? Municipalities, universities, schools, hospitals. This is where we would typically put together a PPA option, a power purchase agreement, in which case we have a lot of different funds and money available right now from third-party investors that just want to buy these PPA projects. So you'll kind of just help us break down with these forms what type of project you're coming across. So really, if you can just take the time out of your week to learn a little bit about here, let me pull this up real quick. Boom. And this, if you just look at this column right here, if you could still see my screen, there's a lot of different types of industries in the commercial space, right? Multifamily, office buildings, marijuana, hotels, manufacturing, warehouses, office complexes, lighting manufacturing, dealerships, self-storage, banks, auto repair shops, pharmacies, utilities, golf resorts, municipalities, schools, right? Healthcare facilities, community centers, agricultural, wineries. The list really goes on. And this is where I love to teach, right? I love to teach here because we live in a digital world, and I come across between 50 and 100 commercial requests a month personally that I personally gather throughout my weeks by simply going on LinkedIn, going on Facebook, going on Instagram, and I just connect with people inside of these industries, right? I love the power of social media and being able to just log on to a platform and meet people all over the place. So, I teach our people to develop these basic scripts based on what industry. Because if you're thinking to yourself, I want to get involved in commercial, well, look at how many different commercial type of properties there are, right? So this is step one, is really discovering where in the commercial realm are you gonna, prospect in, or are you just gonna try to learn enough so that when you are sitting down with your residential customers, you'll be able to have an articulate an intelligent conversation with them about commercial, right? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about solar panels, which you all are used to talking about. We're talking about solar installers, which you're used to talking about. We're talking about warranties. But really the big thing here is we're talking primarily about financing and numbers and how this is going to look on a business's balance sheet, right? So if you're willing to commit an hour a week, 2 hours a week, we have a private Facebook group. We're also a part of, Melissa's group on Facebook. We'll be in there. We'll be communicating with your team. Anybody that's in that Facebook group, feel free to tag myself. Feel free to tag Johnny Ringgold. Johnny Ringgold runs our commercial sales, team. Him and Steven Gutierrez. Just like anything else in the solar world, if you're looking to do business, there's tools you got to use. There's software you need, right? So we've put together a simple platform. It's beyond affordable. It's super cheap. We're looking for a small commitment from you so that you can get access to your tools, so that you can essentially have a commercial business in a box and be able to submit as many commercial proposal requests as you'd want. Have a one-stop shop team that's going to work on fulfilling and financing all of your commercial projects nationwide. And we have a really aggressive commercial pay scale, right? A lot of times in the commercial space, people don't know how we're paid, right? In the residential space, it's very much, it's matured a lot over the years. People are talking about red lines and all this stuff, right? People are very familiar with how we make money in the residential side of the business. When it comes to commercial, it's very up in the air. Not many people know. So we came up with a system to prepare. We came up with a system that basically pays out based on the size of the project, right? So it's a sliding scale. It's very aggressive. Your job is to bring a project to us, collect all of the proper information, submit all that proper information, be ready to communicate with our team, go back and forth a little bit if we need stuff from you, if you need to set up a meeting. You are essentially becoming the glorified lead generator, the liaison between the client and the commercial developer, right? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm like 5 Red Bulls in today, and I'm from New York, and I just talk too much as it is. So I'm gonna leave it there and open it up to any questions.
Well, first off, thank you so much. Wait, that was a wealth of knowledge. As you guys can all see with the Solar Consultant Network, why we thought it would be great to work so closely with Uprisun. You know, they're just a wealth of knowledge. And the key thing that maybe you guys may or may not have heard there is that you don't have to actually become the commercial expert right now. If you don't want to become that expert right now, if you want to stay in your lane with Resi, that's totally fine. You can be, I love the word that they use, the liaison. You can just be handing that off for their team that you can obviously
If I
knows what. Go for it, Tyler.
could just say, I do not want to undermine that role, because that is, it's, you have to be the cream of the crop to just do that, because you're working with CEOs, CFOs, board of executives. Like, you need to be on your game. And it's sometimes I just spent 8 months collecting information over 50 different meetings to close a 210 megawatt project in Texas. And that's a massive 7-figure commission for my team and I. It took 8 months of, discovery and going back and forth, and it takes so much out of you. So this is why I love having that steady, healthy cash flow from residential coming in, right? And I close my 4 or 5 resi deals a month. And now that gives me the ability, the stability, the healthiness to go out and pursue commercial, and without stressing and without being all over the place.
Yep, that's it. That's exactly it. You know, that's why we look for people to partner and groups and businesses to partner with like this, that they really know their stuff like this, and they'll be able to teach us everything here. And at some point one day, we'll probably have to do a fun role play with you sometime, not tonight, but another day. But for right now, let's start with questions. I did see Andy in the chat bar had asked what states we're in.
You're muted, Tyler.
Somehow you're muted, Tyler. So if you want to start that.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
What states are you in?
Yeah, so we thrive in the middle markets. Honestly, anything that's 250 kW to 5 megawatts in any state, we'll do it. We can build, we can develop those projects. So we cover about 48 states now. We have feasibility studies done in about 80% of those markets. So if you were to bring us a project in a state that is like in the middle of nowhere, that we've never done anything in that state, or none of our partners have done anything in that state, our team will do within 48 hours a quick feasibility study and understand if that's a viable project or not. But to answer your question, Andy, we can build anywhere. We're looking at St. Martin's. We're doing a engineering on a project in St. Martin's. We're doing a project in Morocco. We're doing projects in Hawaii. But really just, all of the United States, anywhere in the US, we have projects all over the country. When it comes to small commercial, I saw that pop up, so I'll just answer Melissa. When it comes to a 20 kilowatt commercial project, I'll let Danny answer that. In a case where why it's difficult, to do a small commercial project. If they're looking for financing, it could be tricky. If they're paying cash, that's simple. We actually have a large network. Perfect. So we have a large network of EPCs that can build out those smaller commercial projects. Anything over 500, between 500 kW to a megawatt, we have one team that travels around the whole US pretty much. And anything over a megawatt, we have one team, again, that covers the entire US. But anything smaller like that, like those 20 kilowatt systems, things like that, we have a very large network of residential EPCs that will gladly build that 20 kilowatt system. And cash deal, yeah, that's something that we might be able to make work. Our job is to pretty much just break down for you, not to just say, hey, we don't want that project, or we can't do that project. Our job is to kind of let you know what's feasible, what's not feasible, and to help you get better so that you can go out there and find healthier projects, if anything. No problem, JC.
Let's see, looks like we had another one back there from Abram, and it says, any insight on what the payouts per KW or megawatt is?
Yeah. It's a sliding scale on the pay scale. So for example, the you're not gonna make in commercial, a lot of people come in right away and they're like, I want to make 80 cents a watt, when like it's never gonna happen, right? So typically to co-develop a project with us, you're gonna make between 10 cents and 4 cents a watt, right? So we just had somebody bring us that 5 megawatt project that we're closing up right now. According to our pay scale, that's at 5 cents. So that rep's going to make $250,000 for bringing us that 5 megawatt project. They collected the information, they submitted the deal, they set up the meeting. Our team came on, presented the deal. We made 2 presentations. We did all the engineering, all the design work, and we kicked it over to financing, and that rep's going to make $250,000. That would be.
That right there, I'm going to pause you, is why we looked for somebody that could do commercial, because we knew that we could hand these leads, these precious leads off. They'd go get the job done. And now that rep, it's 5 cents doesn't sound like much until he says, how much? 250,000. Now 5 cents sounds like a lot. So now all of a sudden, maybe you guys are thinking in your head, geez, I could maybe go talk to that commercial home building down the road. I could go talk to that. I could add in my, when I'm asking the homeowner for referrals for residential, I could maybe add, who do you know that owns a business? So
Melissa, you just hit it on the head, Melissa, because when I started running with Tyler and these guys, the first thing I changed and all I did was just say to my team and all my people and myself included, everyone, we just said during the discovery call in the resi space, we just added, if that was the time, like, by the way, what do you do for a living? Since we've added that, I have car wash, Virginia, 2 storage units, Virginia, like 400 or 500 units.
Churches.
Apartment building in Missouri. 2 dealerships I'm looking at in Boston, just by asking that. That's it. And I've done much more because we do lead gen and all this other stuff, but like, just ask. It's like, really, we hear it all the time. This thing, it's like, just use your ears and listen. Go to a benefit, go to a charity, keep your ears out. If someone's talking about they have a building, if they have something, oh, really? What if I could lower your OE? If they say what's OE, or if they say what's OE, probably not the best, but if they say you can lower my operating expense, ding, that's a lead, because they care about their bottom line. That's it. That's what I've learned. Short, sweet, simple.
Actually,
bam.
Funny story. Johnny trained on that on one of our trainings at some point. This was before I had ever met Tyler. And then I was like, Johnny, hook me up. Who are you using for commercial? I'm giving away all of this commercial projects. And that's how I actually ended up with Tyler, because that one line, I heard him training a group of our reps, and I'm like, why aren't we all adding that one line? Like, we're leaving money on the table. And that's part of this whole solar consultant network, is that we're sharing insights. We're teaching each other. This is how we learned we left money on the table. So now we're not going to leave money on the table. So I love these Monday forums. Thanks for jumping in and adding that in, Johnny.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I saw that somebody was asking about if you already have helioscope, which is great because we do almost all of our designs in helioscope, and you have financial models. That is perfect. I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of what we would need. That all that information typically takes a lot of time to collect. So it's great that you already have all that information. And yes, we absolutely do energy storage. That 210 megawatt project that we're doing in Texas, we're doing wind turbines, ground mount bifacial transparent panels. We're using 60 megawatts of saltwater batteries, and we're producing blue hydrogen. So there's a lot of really cool things that we can do outside of just the paneling and just the big, your typical, we do a lot of EV chargers, heat pumps, things like that. We have a lot of knowledge. But really, it's going to come down to how much do you want to put into it, you'll see that it's your job is to really go out there and hunt the client down. and not everybody's good at getting with business owners and staying on their radar and things like that. So you're literally going to be co-developing these projects with us. If you're capable of selling the project on your own, great, that's awesome. Very few people that we come across have that capability, but we're always looking for more people that can present their own deals and close their own deals. And yeah, the blue hydrogen, not many people even know about blue hydrogen, which is really cool. We're doing a lot in that space.
Let's see, what about Arish wants to know is, have you contracted gas stations before?
Gas stations are typically hard because a lot of their canopies are made out of the wrong material, and we typically have to like rebuild that whole top canopy where the panels typically will go, and it just doesn't make financial sense. Now, if you have a portfolio, say, of like a few or a handful of gas stations, that can be more feasible. But if you have a gas station, I'd love for you to submit it, and we could talk through it and break it down to its bare bones and kind of dissect it and see if it's feasible. It might be, but a lot of times with the gas stations, when it comes to financing, particularly.
Yeah, with the gas stations, if we're dealing with like a whole group of gas stations, because a lot of these gas stations are starting to electrify themselves because of the coming wave of EVs. So if we're dealing with a whole group, it'll work on financing. But as far as the design and engineering goes, like
Yeah,
Tyler
it's just-
said,
It typically
But
they
I'd
have,
love to look
they
at
have
it.
a small space, and we typically look to use the canopy, and a lot of times it's that fiberglass material. It's very expensive to rebuild those structures, but we can definitely do them. We've done some gas stations before.
All right, great questions. We have time for one more. We're gonna do it from Power Solar and Storage. The question is, I can get the clients, but I need people to help me close them. I guess it's not a question, it's a statement, but I think that's a perfect statement to kind of end on for what are your comments back to that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we work with some of the biggest teams in the industry, and a lot of them that are doing very well in commercial are just mastering the art of co-developing, where they're spending a year just really perfecting one or two niches within the commercial space. Me personally, I live in New York, so I love multifamily. There's multifamily apartment complexes everywhere. So I've been trying to learn this year everything I can about what does a multifamily business owner do? What do they have going on for them? How do they make money? Where do they look to save money? And because of that, I'm coming now across a lot of multifamily opportunities, right? So our job is to primarily, fulfill your projects, be the closing partner on your project. And through this, right, we want people on these meetings. If you want to just throw shit against the wall, see if it sticks, great. You don't have to be on the meetings. You don't have to, attend any of the presentations that we make, but I'm going to highly encourage it, because that's where you're going to learn. If you go out there for a year and you collect 10 commercial opportunities and you submit them all, and you learn about everything that we're doing to get done what we do, and now you're sitting on the meetings as we're presenting these projects, you're going to learn, right? You're going to learn, you're going to get better. And that is truly, I think, what I'm most passionate about is teaching people, giving them an opportunity to learn, right? And without our commitment and us being, being the ones that are putting together these reoccurring trainings and on social media all the time and trying to connect with awesome people like Melissa, no one, people aren't going to ever, get encouraged to get into the space. So that's what we're here to do, is encourage people to tap in.
and that statement was exactly what we do. So that was a great way to end it.
Yep.
That is, so if anybody that is on here now or listening to the recording of this what is the best way if they want to either figure out how to learn how to sell, or if they want to become like a referral agent for leads. What is the preferred, and you had mentioned a Trello board. So do you want them to contact Steven? What's your preferred method there?
So the reason why we're partnering with Johnny, I've been partnering with Johnny for almost a year. He's just a very experienced, seasoned, like mature adult. You know, he's a family guy, like he's trustworthy. So when it comes to this commercial stuff, some of these commercial opportunities that you might have are like really close connections or really close family people. So when you're gonna start speaking to someone on our team about, you know, how you can get involved, there's no better person than to speak to about Johnny. He'll know where you're coming from. He'll be able to relate to you. You know, he'll have a lot of common ground with you. Him and Steven, their team does a great job of just educating people. They have a calendar link. These guys run meetings all day long. They're super passionate about just talking and getting the word out there. They'll walk you through how to get started with us. They'll walk you through the onboarding. They'll get you started, or they'll answer any questions that you have.
Okay, so great. So everybody watching this live right now, you can see in the chat bar, Steven has put in his calendar link. So you can grab that. We'll go ahead and make sure when we post this into the group, we will also post that calendar link for Steven. And if you're watching this on the Solar Consultant Network YouTube channel, that link for Steven's calendar link will be right below the video in the comment section. So great having everybody on here today. You know, it's wonderful to get to learn a little bit more about commercial and how all the reps that are selling resi on there won't leave money on the table after they've listened to this. So thank you guys so much. And everybody have an amazing night.
Thank you guys. Good night.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Melissa.
There you are.